video started. How you doing, man?
Hey, good, thanks, mate. How are you? It's pretty early here in the west of Australia. 5
Oh,
a.m.
you're in Australia now.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
didn't know. This is marvelous. This is because it's my final interview for the day, and this makes it very special. That's great.
well, we're just starting the next day now, so you'll be playing tonight in our
It
time.
is what I'm playing tomorrow night. So it's
No, no, it's
here. It's
tonight. It's
10
tonight.
o'clock p.m.
So it's
And
tonight our time.
yeah, okay. So what
We're the
time is it
next.
now with you? What time is it
We're
now?
we're in the future. We're 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, so if you check your Spotify account, is my record already published in Australia?
No.
It's not yet. Okay.
No, I think that happens local time, so we
Okay.
get it late. It's a bit like when you watch a TV show streaming or something like that. I think it
Right.
works on
Right.
your time. But the good news is the review's up. We've had it for. I just don't know how you do it. Let's face it. I mean, three absolutely wonderful albums. I'm speechless. You've done it again.
Wow, man. Thank you for it's my honor. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but the Big Easy, it's a little different. You're pushing the boundaries a little in some areas. I love the opening. It's like reminding me of the stuff that Dave Lee Roth used to do, that sort of thing. But from the title track to the very last song, it's wonderful rock and roll for people who remember or want to recapture when rock and roll was fun, and that for me is what it's all about.
Wow, man. True words in early mer you're a morning bird, early bird, I'd say. True words and thank you so much. I mean, you know, we do this for us and for our fans, but then if people like you and other rock and roll connoisseurs from all over the world are reaching out and high-fiving us, it's a great feeling. Thank you for this. And it's just I'm just on the eve of the release, and
Yeah,
you filled me up with energy. Thank you.
I saw you playing Dortmund tonight. Wonderful city. Is that your local? You're sort of like
No,
you're
but
picking up
the
home
band
ground.
from around the block. I'm
Yeah.
not, but Dortmund is, it's probably the motor city of Germany. It's like, like Detroit. It's working class and it's structure wise. It's the whole county is huge. It's probably the most crowded in the whole Europe. It's 18 million people
Oh
living
wow.
in Dortmund, Düsseldorf, North Rhine-Westphalia,
Yeah.
and it's really rock and roll core of Germany. It's working class. It's great to open up there, and I think we're gonna have 1,000
Oh, that'd be
spectators.
great. Yeah. So what are you doing special? I mean, do you tend when you do the album launch show to play as much from the new album as you can, or what's the
It's
intention?
gonna, yeah. The intention is, I mean, first of all, the
You can tell me
intention
because you'll have,
was,
you'll have played the show by the time we put the video up, so no
yeah,
secrets,
yeah,
Alec.
that's good. I, I mean, the intention was, but let's not get bored with pandemic fairy tales. But first of all, the intention was let's finally get a tour together. And now it's selling well, We have a lot of radio and news coverage. That's great internationally. And tomorrow it's going to be a mix of the best we have of three. If you have three
Yeah.
albums, suddenly you're a real artist. You just do your debut and you're like, oh, it's a debut, and everybody likes it. Then you do the second one, everybody says, yeah, no, maybe you push it too far into the Daily Roth B-side, or whatever, or you heading out too much to the 70s, or you could have been more metal, or you're too much metal. And then the third one comes up, and you say, we're a real band. We just somehow follow our path, and we have somehow we have the feeling that we found us. I mean, never that we got lost, but on the second album, you could go from one place to the other. But I think the Big Easy is more conceptual than Amadeus, maybe. And so it's gonna be, it's maybe 22 songs. We do maybe one or two covers as an homage, but the rest is the best of three albums, and it's gonna be six new albums to answer your question. Excuse me, six new songs of the album.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was going to say 6 new albums. Fantastic. What have I missed?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well, that's
we,
gonna take a while. No, it's gonna be 6 songs from the new album.
I mean, it's wonderful music. It reminds me of, I mean, people say like 80s rock, but 80s rock was diverse for me anyway. This is like I think we called the first album the Summer Coastal Driving album of 2019, which is it's pretty much what we love about it. It's music to get out on the highway, put the top down if you're lucky enough to have a convertible, and just blast out the songs. It's uplifting as well, which I love. And so some wonderful songs. I mean, I've no idea how you can create an album at this day and age where there's not a single track on there to skip. I mean, even some of my favorite albums, I'm skipping over some. But when you hear stuff like God Made Radio, Thunder, back in the days, which you uh, get all the way up to Boys Don't Play with Dolls, which I love. It's just so catchy. And the only song there that sort of had me revisiting, thinking, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I know I love it, but I'm not quite sure. Is the closer. Wilder. Tell me about the last track on the album.
Yeah, for me it's the most special and personal song. It's dedicated to my ex-girlfriend. Even the name. It's in the album. You can read the name. So it's a very direct dedication. And when you grow older, sometimes a breakup is hard, but it's not like in the teenage days anymore. You can see the good and the bad sides, and you can maybe wish each other well. And so literally this song was came to me within a minute. I swear to you, I had that song directly in front of my eyes, and with the lyrics, of course you just work them out a little bit, but it was just simply there. So it was that special song for that album for me. But when I first recorded it for the band, it was just with an acoustic guitar, and didn't sound like a rock song at all. Like mostly if I do my stuff, it's rather folky because I'm just playing with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And the others couldn't really see it, but I was sure it's gonna be great. It's gonna be, and besides, it meant so much to me. I wanted this song to be part of the album. And then actually Snake Rocket said, okay, I think I know what you want, but let's do drums like Tico Torres would do them. And let's do big guitars. And I said, yeah. Let's see if that could be arena rock, but not lose the special, nostalgic, but also positive touch it has. Stay wild at heart, stay connected. And this means a lot to me. And then we said, okay, this is going to be the last song, because I don't know if you said it, somebody wrote it, that it's a peek to the future. It's different from the rest. That was you. I read
Yeah.
I liked it very much. And yeah, it's probably true. It's not that I would know how John Diva would sound, let's say, on the next album. Maybe that was just a single move with that song, but it meant a lot to me. And this says a lot about the band. The guys listen to each other. They might not get the idea right away, but they say, okay, if he's really into it, and that goes also for the other songwriters, Snake and JJ, if they're really onto something. Boys Don't Play was something that Snake wanted to do, and at the beginning we said, yeah, it's that boogie woogie, rock and roll thing. We had that, but he was so convinced, and he said, let's do it with horns. And then I did that lyric to it, which is probably more even a feminine anthem, but it's definitely not a cock rocky lyric. So that made it special. And so maybe that band is at a very good moment, because we have different styles in songwriting, but we listen to each other and we try to be creating the songs with the songwriter together. Say, okay, I'm seeing your vision, but I might be helpful to go another way. I see what you want to do, but this is not the right way. Let's try it that way. Leave each other's space.
It must be great as well to have songwriters in the band. Like some bands just rely on the input of one member largely, but it sounds like you've got a fantastic mix. One of the things that always intrigues me about songwriting, though, is, and I ask everyone this question because I'm sort of like on a quest to find out what the answer is, and the more people I ask, the more I realize there isn't an answer to this question. But how do the songs come to you? Like, talk to people like Michael Sweet out of Striper, and he just says he knows he has an album to write. He sits down and he writes it. And I just find that so incredibly strange. Whereas most people say, well, when I'm in the shower, I'll just hear this thing and reach out, grab the phone, and get it down. Is it? Does inspiration come to you at inappropriate moments?
It does, but of course, it's also like a muscle. Like last year, I was very much in the creative process. There wasn't anything else to do, first of all, and we really
Yeah,
wanted to pick up the pace because we came out of the depression that American Amadeus, the tour was crumbling away while we were doing it because everything locked down. So that was, in a way, lifesaver to go directly into the creative process again. But when I am in the creative process, I'm like a silly person walking the streets, mumbling words or even, nonverbal vocals and find something. Or let's say I'm seeing a magazine, a billboard, I listen to something and think that sounds good. I like that word. So I'm playing with words. I'm very playful. I write them down. Sometimes I keep them for years and then suddenly they pop up
yeah,
again. I read my notes again and again. That is one process. The other one, and that was maybe more uh, within the process of writing the Big Easy, was that we were really spontaneous, and that I really created lyrics for the songs the guys wrote, for the riffs, for the moment, for the energy that I was feeling, and in the moment where I was, and I was, I was yearning. Let's take the song "Believe." Obviously, that's a prayer for ourselves to stay strong. That there's gonna be a sunny day again,
yeah,
because
yeah,
back then everything was cold and shitty, and so we were really, it was a meditation. We were mostly in the moment, and that is something that you maybe reach as a band when you do the third record. So I think songwriting is changing, and what I told you about Wild at Heart, I had that with one or the other song, but maybe like 6 or 7 times in my life so far, that you're really kissed at the moment and it's directly there.
yeah,
So, but of course you have to stick around. Right now I'm in the process of preparing for tour. I'm in the frontman situation. It's a different, I'm totally not creative and I'm not looking for it at the moment. But when I'm getting into it, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a little bit, yeah. I never want to miss it. It's a trip. And I saw something with what's that guy's name? Roxy Music,
Oh,
the
Brian
main
Ferry.
guy. Yeah, Brian Ferry. A couple of years ago, he was asked the same question doing probably his 40th album or something, and he said, "I'm still searching for the perfect record or for the next record." And I can really see that. And that's a good thing. You're never really satisfied because you move on. We're not the same person than we were yesterday.
Mm.
So, and if you see, as a songwriter, you see yourself as a filter where reality or something goes through. Of course, there's always new stuff to filter, and let's see how it comes out. It's a beautiful thing. I'm very
Yeah,
thankful for that.
it is. And like the other thing I really wanted to ask was like how many songs do you demo for a John Diva album?
For that album
Yeah,
especially.
for this one.
And
Yeah,
for this one, we had about 30 songs, ideas, fragments, so mostly, let's say some kind of chorus, a
yeah,
verse, a riff. So you get the main idea. And then we had the idea to say, let's not make more than 11 songs, because with Amadeus, for example, I think we had 14 songs. We said, let's take these 3 songs that were maybe too much and take that energy and concentration into only 11 songs. So these 11 songs are really 100%. This is all we can do, because 14 might just be over pushing the production. At the end, you just want to get ready or something. So let's reduce it to the max. And so we X'd out 12 songs. There was 18. And then we said, okay, this is a great song, but it doesn't fit the concept. It's too dark. There was some metal, really metal riff-driven songs that we liked. But we said, we don't see that. And so suddenly it was 14. And then we're more or less democratic about it. But I don't believe in democracy if it comes to a band. It's something that's an autocratic democracy, maybe. And at the end, somebody has to say yes or no. And mostly it's Snake and me, I have to say. Because of course I have to perform it, I have to sing it, I have to put a lyric on it. But I think I'm really speaking for the rest of the band. Everybody is very, very happy with that album and also with the albums before. Of course, I couldn't push through some songs on the last records, but that goes for everybody. And I think we know that it's the mix of these three songwriters and the drummer and the bass player that makes it so special and nice for us also.
Yeah. And it sounds wonderful as well. I mean, the production's fantastic. I mean, really, really suits the music. So it sounds sonically great. We've got a couple of questions. We've got a radio show now, so we have a segment that we'll put on the radio as well. And this segment has worked and not worked with various people. So I had Rich from the Black Crows. He was my I guess guinea pig, and we've refined it a little bit. But basically, the next segment will be the one that we'll put on the radio, play a few songs, and get you to do a shout out. So the first question that we ask is, when did it all start for you? I mean, some people have a blinding flash of inspiration. They'll see something or they'll hear something, and from that moment on, they'll know that rock and roll is going to be a huge part of their life. Other people sort of have always had that feeling, and then they'll get into rock and roll, and then there'll be one moment when something happens that they know that that's going to be the rest of their life. What was it for you? Was it an instantaneous moment, or was it something more gradual?
I think it was always there. There was instruments in my parents' house, and I was playing the guitar very, very early. I just played it with a high energy. And so I think I always, my to channel my energy was always into the direction of music. And I remember some things. I remember hanging out in my father's place. I was 8, and they had a live show transmitted from Germany, actually, of the Kings. That was 1982.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kings just came out with Give the People What They Want. And live, as you know, they were really hard rocking. They rocked hard. And I couldn't sleep, so I came down to my father's bedroom, and he was recording it with a tape recorder. He put it in front of his television, and I kept this cassette all year long, all summer long. I listened to it and played soccer outside. So that was a mixture. I remember Italy. I think it was the World Cup in Italy, or Italy won, something like that. And it's combined in my mind. And much later, this special song show is on YouTube now. You can find it. It's Rock Palast, the Kings 1982. And I never had a picture to it because obviously I forgot, I only had the music, know that show by heart. And now I could see it. I still can see it on YouTube. That's beautiful to see a show that you have imagined and know it by heart. And then suddenly you get the pictures 40 years later again to see it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I had some of these moments. The first time I saw Panama, that was the first time I got introduced to Van Halen and David Roth, who was a great idol. And I was really, I couldn't believe it. I was right away in love. And I have a lot of moments like that. Like also with my father touring the US for 5 weeks in summer, 85. And Live 8 was on. And in between, I was watching MTV, and there was We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sisters. And I saw this crazy Dee Snider with his, yellowish hair banging it away. And as a kid, it like hits you directly. So I think was a, I always was wild at heart. It was always rock and roll for me.
Yeah, and
And I
it just
always
took,
wanted it.
and it took some wonderful moments. I mean, the Kinks. I don't know. I get into debates for myself sometimes whether they invented hard rock and heavy metal with that riff to "You Really Got Me" or whether
Yeah.
there was something else. But they were definitely a big part of it. Um, if you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of any great album, just to see how the magic happened in the studio, what are you going to choose? What would you love to have seen come together?
Like a classical album where I could be hosting and seeing what happened.
Yeah, just seeing the band make that record. I mean, there's
I
some
mean,
records we know everything about, and some we know very few about.
can you see that
Hendrix,
one in the back?
yeah,
That's Hendrix 69.
yeah,
Um, I, I definitely would go back to the 70s. And I mean, that might sound boring, but it probably would be Abbey Road, because
wow.
that's an album that means a lot to me. Also goes back to my childhood. I remember I had it as a vinyl record, and by the end of the summer, it was like this. It was running. It was still running. Was uh, I mean, obviously that's. I mean, maybe we just imagine it that way because we haven't been there. But I think in the 70s and 60s, music was still really magic. I
Yeah.
mean, still music is always magic, but the production of the music, where you didn't have millions of uh, possibilities. You just had an 8 track or maybe a 12 track, and then you had to re-record it everything to you had to be creative,
Mm.
technical wise, and this is something that blows me away. Also with California Rhapsody, just the little intro, I was getting into the Beach Boys and just like saying, "Hey, how are they doing it?" And I mean, obviously, it's a it's a foul comparison, but at least I tried. But it's I think I'm fascinated by the 60s and 70s. So I could pick a Beatles. I don't take Sergeant Pepper's because this is just like
Yeah,
to everybody would say that, but Abbey Road means a lot to me. Or probably Electric Ladyland.
yeah. I mean, it's hard. There's so many I'd love to see being made, and so many in doing what I do as well. There are so many people who've recorded demos over the years that just aren't out there that I can hear the wonderful songs in them. So I know that probably out of those 30 that you recorded for the album, I'll bet you there's half a dozen in there that I would hear as being absolutely sensational for this one as well. If you could have put together a bill in the 80s for 5 bands and John Diva and the Rockets of Love, who are you going to be on the bill with?
Thin Lizzy,
Yeah.
Thin Lizzy, definitely. Um, Probably White Snake.
Mm.
Van Halen. It's, that's the big
It's
ones, but it's we're just dreaming it away right now.
it's sounding like
And
the best festival ever at the moment.
it does, doesn't it? Let's see if I can come up with some. Uh,
Some curveballs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. So the 80s. Uh, Maybe something a bit offline. It's Billy Squire or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Something that you don't directly expect by that billing yet.
He's got a new
Uh,
song out.
yeah, and one more to go, right?
One more.
One more to go. I mean, okay, let's make it super fantastic. David Bowie.
David Bowie. Wow. Would yeah, that would be very, very interesting. He'd probably want a
Yeah.
headline though, which yeah, I don't know how that would go with ticket sales, but let's see. But
I would do
that
the
was great.
opening, so I can see all these bands. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
It'd be brilliant. I mean, I like a few years ago in Australia, they had a thing called the Stone Music Festival where Aerosmith played with Van Halen, and it's one of the only times that they've been on the same bill. And it's when obviously Dave and Eddie were playing together, and then after that, Aerosmith came on. It was the perfect night. But the next segment is almost that we're almost there. We're almost at the finish line. But this one's not worked out quite how I planned it. The next question. Um, I called it Breakfast with the Stars, and the idea was to find out what everyone had for breakfast. I don't know why. It was just a crazy idea. But most people have come back and said, I don't really have breakfast.
That is true. That's true. Me neither,
so,
man.
so can I put you in that list? I don't really have breakfast list.
I mean, my typical breakfast, if I'm not on tour, problem with touring is you always wake up in a hotel and you just take these hotel breakfasts. And even if you're in a, let's say, 4 or 5 star hotel, sooner or later it's all the same. And it's in the end, it's not really good food. But if I'm at home, let's say, if I wake up in the morning, I gotta leave the house first thing. I don't know why. Even though I have a great coffee machine, Italian coffee machine, and I have to go outside the house. Somehow it's I don't know if it's the call of the wild or if I don't know, horror wakui. I just gotta get out, and I just stroll around. There's a lot of good coffee shops, and I have a coffee. I take a flat white, obviously, and
fantastic.
yeah, and it's fantastic, and it's enough for me. Sometimes I have if they really have it, French croissant or like a baguette with just like bit of butter and some marmalade, but this is already Sunday, mostly the coffee will do, and that's fine. But having said that, just before the tour, I just was on a I was doing a kind of diet, trying to focus on a certain, it was like vegan for 7 or 8 days just to try it out, and obviously there was no coffee involved, and hey, the first 2 days was hell, man. It was hell. But now I'm continuing not to have coffee for 10 days, and I'm really highly energetic, and I'm kind of
Oh wow. Okay.
trying to push it because I love the ritual about it, miss it, but I really see that I'm much more powerful. I had a pizza this afternoon with a friend, and I was really working on that for a couple of hours. So I was really on just a bit of food, and it makes you high. If you just like after a while, if you let's say the first 3 days might be heavy because you're just hungry or just you hang on to a ritual, but afterwards it like really, it's springtime, I have a good moment. That's all I'm saying right now, and I'm just like yeah, experiencing with a diet right now.
Cool. I'm gonna try some of that. I've got to get away from the flat whites. I have far too many of those. So
So are you flat whitey as well, or?
absolutely, yeah. And I'm the same. Great coffee machine, but always going out for one. So
Yeah,
I don't know what it
it's
is.
nice.
Maybe it's just having people around, maybe something like that. And the final question, we always save the easy one for last. What is the meaning of life?
A rock and roll show.
Yeah, absolutely. It could equally be the Big Easy, which you debut the album release show Dortmund 17th of March. So hopefully the tour's selling absolutely fantastically. Sounds like it's doing well, and absolutely everyone should get out. I've got to either get you over here or get back over to Europe. So I'm not sure what I'll do.